I have Silver out. I'm going to do a little bit of an update with him so we can see what's happened since we had his feet redone, to give you a little bit of an update. Since then, he's been reshod with the shoes reshod to match his x-rays. Looking at his foot, the left foot looked the worst, but on the x-rays, the right foot actually x-rayed worse. But he's shod matching the x-rays. And he had a couple of days off with some bute. Changing his angles most likely was going to cause some flexor tendon soreness. And because of how his right leg x-rayed, that is going to cause some flexor tendon issues. So where we're at right now, this is the first time I'm working him since he's been reshod. Several things that I need to be looking for here. There could be pain still. There could be flexor tendon pain. There could be just remnant pain from the previous issue. There also could be pain in other parts of his body. There could be pain in his back. There could be pain in his hips. He was using his back end so much to get up underneath him because his front end was so sore. There could still be some back pain going on. I plan on getting some MagnaWave done with him this week to help with that. So I don't expect him to totally appear painless. I expect he to show pain somewhere, either actual pain or a memory of pain, expecting it to hurt. We're going to have to watch for that, see where he shows like he's hurting, and work from there. I did notice when I was saddling him up, he seemed to have a much less worried look on his face today saddling him than he did before I had his feet worked on. I do expect he's going to anticipate it hurting when I go to get on. It's going to take a little bit of time for him to figure out that it doesn't hurt anymore. So we're going to have to kind of work through that to find out if it's actual pain or anticipating pain. But he's been standing much better. His facial expression is much softer, and we're going to get on him and see what happens. I don't plan on doing much with him other than just kind of getting on and see how he reacts. If you did not see the videos, you should go back and watch the playlist on YouTube of his previous videos, and you'll see what went on there. Plus, I went really in depth on the videos describing what his issues was on Patreon. Anytime a horse is in a lot of pain, you can pretty much expect they're going to expect it hurts the next time. So I'm not going to do anything too drastic just yet. I will kind of scold him here in just a minute to stand still, because we got to see where we're at. We have to see what direction we're going in. We have to get a good evaluation. This is the same saddle that I had on him last week. This is Raven's saddle. It's the only saddle that we have that fits him, because he has kind of an odd back. And this saddle doesn't fit me very good, but it's what fits him. See if I can get my foot in the stirrup. Now, the last video, he was so sore I never swung my leg over him. I'd really like to just stand here a minute, because if he's not in pain, I'd like him to have a chance to figure out that it don't hurt. I'd like him to just kind of think about it. And if there is still some pain, we need to separate the actual pain from expectation of pain. So how would we do that? How would we separate actual pain from expectation of pain? Well, for one thing, as he moves with me on him, he's going to start to figure out that it does not hurt. Now, I'm going to watch this video after I get off of him, because I want to see how he's placing his feet down. That's going to tell me a lot. He's actually moving off very willingly. His head is relaxed. His ears are relaxed. He's really not telling me that he's hurting very bad. He feels like he's stepping like a typical navicular horse steps, which there was some navicular things going on in his right foot. I want to compare how he moves his feet to what the x-rays show, because horses with different tendencies, a navicular horse has a certain walk, a laminitis horse has a certain walk, and by comparing the walk, how he picks it up, how he puts it down, to the x-rays, that's going to tell us a lot. So I've been walking some big left circles, and he's very willing to go forward. I have not actually asked him to move forward yet. Let's come through the middle. I'm not going to do any sharp turns with him today. I'm going to come through the middle, and I want to walk a couple of circles the other direction. Now we're going to turn off to the right. So when you're circling to the right, you tend to put a little bit more pressure on the right front. You're walking to the left, you tend to put a little bit more pressure on the left front. Let's keep going. He's looking at the cows over there. I like that he's not, if he was in real serious pain, it'd be like when I rode him the other day. That'd be all he could think about. His ears are looking around, he's looking at the cows, he's willing to go. He's walking like he's not in pain like he was last week for sure. Don't know that he's 100% pain free, but time is going to tell that. So to find out whether it's actual pain or the anticipation of pain, if it's actual pain as we walk, he should get worse. If it's the anticipation of pain as we walk, it should get better. And I hear so many people jump to an immediate conclusion, well, my horse hurts, stop. And depending on what it is, sometimes that's what you should do. If you have like tendon damage, for example, yeah, if your horse hurts, absolutely stop. But it depends on what kind of pain you're dealing with as to what you need to do. We're dealing with stuff going on in the hoof. The way a hoof works, every time you step and that bulb of the hoof expands and compresses. So when you step, it's going to expand a little bit. When he picks it up, it's going to compress a little bit. He's trotting, and that ain't even me. That's on his own. That expanding and compressing actually helps to push blood back up the horse's leg. So walking when there is pain caused from inflammation, which when you're dealing with navicular and some of the issues that he has, you end up with pain from inflammation. And walking typically helps that, because the more blood you circulate, the more you're taking that inflammation out. If I can get my feet a little better in these stirrups, my feet really don't fit in them good. So dealing with this type of pain, if you get it to a level where he's not just distraught with the pain, you get him to a acceptable level of him being able to travel and it not do negative damage, actually moving helps. Now, if it was a different type of injury, the pain was coming from a different reason, then you wouldn't necessarily want to keep them walking through it. That's why it's really important that when you have a horse that is in pain, discomfort somewhere, that you have an idea where that pain is coming from. Because often for certain types of pain, inflammation, walking is good. Now, if it's a tendon, a joint, walking's not good. You have to know what you're dealing with. We just had him x-rayed, had a long discussion with the vet and the farrier about what was going on inside his foot. He's actually, I want to see how he's putting his foot down. It feels like he's putting it down a little bit like a navicular horse, like when they bring their foot forward, they're a little late going flat. It's staying up and then they go flat. That's pretty typical of navicular discomfort. But he's walking out good. I'm really pleased with that. I'm gonna go ahead and ask for a trot, and let's see what happens. All right, let's walk. So he's not bobbing his head, which is great. I am feeling that his trot is not symmetrical. It's very asymmetrical. Diagonal feet don't match. And according to what we saw on his x-rays, that's really not surprising because his front feet don't match. They look like they belong on two different horses. The angles are different. Everything's different. So having asymmetrical movement matches the x-rays. I have talked a lot about asymmetrical movement in some other horses because they had really different shoulder angles. I haven't noticed his shoulder angles being drastically different, but his lower leg angles are drastically different from one foot to another, and that causes asymmetrical movement. You have to look at asymmetrical movement and decide, is that movement because of the conformation, or is that movement because of a pain somewhere? I think right now, so far with him, I'm thinking it's mostly his conformation because he wasn't bobbing his head. Let's change directions and do a trot the other direction. Asymmetrical movement is very common in horses because it's just a conformation flaw where one side doesn't match the other. It's not unusual, and a lot of people see that and go automatically into pain, but asymmetrical movement is very common. All right, let's trot this way. Steer around a little bit. All right, now let's walk. So he went into that trot really easy. I just gave him a little squeeze and he trotted off. His head was not bobbing up and down, which is really good. He did stumble one time on this right front foot. I think that's what it was. That's what it felt like, which is not really kind of expected because that's the foot that shows some navicular issues. And like I said, it felt like he was late getting it flat. So that's going to take a little bit of work with getting him to pick his feet up a little bit better. Another thing too, because of how he was x-rayed, he had way too small of a shoe on. Well, he had a way too small of a shoe on, and we could see that in the x-rays. That was actually causing some damage to the inside of his foot. Well, to help with that, to give him more heel support, we actually have a little bit too big of a shoe on to help support where some of the issues were going on. So it's kind of like us walking around with feet or shoes a little bit too big. His shoes a little bit too big, that's going to affect his movement. So that's something that I also have to take into account, feeling him go around and when I watch the video. So let's ask for another trot. Let's walk. So That time I was paying more attention to the back end, and his back end felt really loose. I was kind of surprised. I expected that to be a little bit tighter than what I'm feeling, just because he's been overusing that so much, trying to get weight off of his front end. He's been using those muscles so much. I thought there'd be a little bit more soreness there, but it really wasn't. It didn't feel too bad. So that's an update with Silver, where he's at right now. I'm really pleased. I think the shoe job fixed probably 90% of it. Still need to do some physical therapy. I also think some MagnaWave is going to help too, because his body was so tense expecting that pain because of the pain. I think the MagnaWave is going to help his movement too. Help with the front end so that he'll move the front end better, and also help loosen up the back end, because there's got to be some muscle soreness back there from loading it up so much to get the weight off of his front end. So that's where he is right now. I'm really pleased with the progress that we made, and I really think that most of the issues that the owner was having, the reason why she sent him to me, was coming from that issue right there. So if you haven't seen the rest of his videos on YouTube, I'll put a link somewhere here, and then I go further in depth on Patreon. Until next time, thank you for watching.